You know, when my great-grandfather discovered this place, he wanted to settle on a vantage point. From up here, he could see all his enemies coming for kilometers. From up here, he could stand and protect his own. 13 years after taking over, you guys are feeling the pinch, eh? Democracy has had a high price to pay.
Am I the only one who sees the gravity of this whole thing? A man was beaten, stripped and set on fire. It did not spontaneously combust. Now, I don't care what justification is being put forward, nor do I give a shit what the provocation was. Fact is, the crime was committed. And our job is to find the responsible. And by God, when we do find them, we will unleash the full might of the law upon them.
Oh, let us rejoice. 3 kings have traveled across distant lands to ease our pain.
Look outside. We're on the brink of a civil war here.
It's a little too late to be discreet, don't you think?
Will you just shut up? Shut up!
No one is going to talk to a bunch of foreigners in suits with a clear axe to grind.
God's truth transcends all courtesy and is rather candor in its approach. For God's truth shall always permeate all of our lives and our reality. We were found and bound in Christ long before we were lost in Adam. Isn't there supposed to be some justice? Lost in Adam.
Why can't they just put them on a bus and ship them back to where they come from?
In these uncertain times, it is shelter that we need, not solace. Welcome, gentlemen, to our small town called Descent.
Well, the inspiration for a small town called Descent came from the xenophobic attacks that happened in my country last year. Between the period of March up to about June, July, there were all these widespread attacks across the entire country where black people, basically ethnic people, went out on a rampage and attacked other black people, accusing them of being foreigners.
You're all foreigners in this town. Now, as guests in my house, I suggest that you use the toilet and don't piss on my kitchen table, because I can make your lives a living hell. And now, now, don't you stop that now! Don't you threaten my boy! Try me, father. Please, give me one reason to put you away.
Since 1994, there's been an influx of immigrants from other parts of Africa into South Africa, which is only natural because, I mean, South Africa is actually considered the economic hub of Africa. It's certainly the richest country in Africa.
Hey, we're living a South African dream, eh?
I'm increasing my share portfolio.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Let's see. Go for it.
And so what you've had is an influx of immigrants from war-torn regions, unstable countries, economically unstable countries, all coming and converging down in South Africa. Obviously, apartheid isolated South Africa from the world. So in an essence, you had an entire period of over 60 years where this one country was isolated from the rest of the world. With the crumbling of apartheid, those borders were opened, and essentially had an influx of people coming from countries that had their own issues, their own problems. And through that experience, I think there was a culture shock for a lot of South Africans. I mean, there's no excuse for the kind of heinous attacks that happened, but I wanted to get to the human story.
I hate to say this, but these Zimbabweans may have had it coming. Can you really blame all these people? I'd also want to kill them if they did what they did to someone I cared about.
And over a period of 3 months last year, which I consider to be our darkest hour since apartheid, we had basically over 60 people being killed.
Afraid that the fate of the father has befallen the son.
For me, writing and eventually directing A Small Town Called Descent was a kind of purging of that issue, in the sense that I needed to get to grips with why I was doing that. I say I because I have to take full responsibility for what my fellow countrymen were doing. To try and remove myself from that situation, I think, is wrong. I have to take responsibility as an artist, as a human being, as a citizen of South Africa, and also as a citizen of my continent, and as a citizen of the global village. I have to take full account of what happened in my country. 3 investigators from an elite investigating unit known as the Scorpions are deployed to this small little town called Descent in the middle of nowhere, in a region called the Karoo back in South Africa. And basically they're sent to the small town called Descent to investigate this crime. The crime is basically the killing, the senseless killing of an expat, a Zimbabwean expat by the name of Charles Ntawarira. Him and his brother, along with a local girl, Funaga, they are attacked. There's a true story, aside from my own film, but there's a true story of a man who was necklaced. And when I saw that, it hit me so hard because it basically took us right back to the apartheid period. And I didn't understand that. We've got a stable economy. We've got a lot to look forward to as South Africans. We're hosting the World Cup this year. And then all of a sudden these attacks happen. So I didn't understand where that came from.
Be patient with us small town folk, Mr. Billy. You know, we don't welcome change so well.
Clearly this town is living in the past. I mean, necklacing a man is right out of the apartheid archives.
16 years after the advent of democracy in my country, I don't think South Africans have really dealt with the issues. So with all these themes and all these elements, I basically was inspired to write A Small Town Called Descent, which is a fictional tale.
I am of the belief, gentlemen, that 7 days ago, here, there was a murder, and that now there's a conspiracy to hide the facts behind that murder.
Yes, the attack is a catalyst event, but we see things and we see the narrative through the eyes of the detectives. As they discover things, we discover things. Everyone is in a state of decline in this film. It's a bit of a morbid story that way, I guess. Maybe I'm morbid in my outlook. Some people would look at and blame me for that. But I think it's an important story to be told.